The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everybody, welcome to the webinar today on trading economic events, GDP, unemployment, and more. That A and more is going to be the jobless claims, and it's going to be the non-farm payrolls. Wanted to go ahead and do this webinar today. Some of you might have been around for a webinar last week, just wanted to do it again. Just go over, explain some of the economic events, what they are, how to trade them, etc. So today's May 13th, as you can see on the slide there. My name is Adam McCaden. I have worked here at Nadex for, geez, how long now? About 2.5 years. And I work a lot in our a lot of our new product development. I kind of lead that section up. So some of these new economic event contracts and bringing back the old contracts, that was a team that we worked very hard to bring these back. So wanted to just go ahead and give you an overview of these and what we were thinking about bringing them back and how they work. So without further ado, let's get right on in here. Let me see if that works. So just first of all, we'll go over this screen. Let's see here. Okay, so first of all, we'll go over the screen. And by the way, if you do have any questions, I will see them coming in here so I can answer them as we go through. And I know we had a few technical difficulties last time, so if you aren't seeing my webcam or you aren't seeing the screen or anything like that, just let me know, send over a question, and I will be able to fix that and respond to them. So this screen, obviously, trading on Nadex involves risk. All trading involves risk, so you're never going to have really any riskless trades. There's no reward without any risk, so make sure you read through these. Only use your discretionary income to trade. Obviously, you don't want to use your rent money, your food money, anything you actually need to live. You only want to be using that extra income to actually trade with. The other thing here is this is all at your own risk, and please read through this while I talk. Also, anything I may go on and just show you maybe a demo example trade on the platform. That is not, I'm not saying you should make those trades. Anything I'm saying on here is purely to show the functionality of how these trades work, and definitely not giving you any recommendations on what you should or shouldn't do. I actually can't really give any recommendations as I actually work for the exchange, so we can't do that even if I wanted to. Okay, so I think we've had this up long enough now. Allowed all of you to go ahead and read that. So let's really kick it off here. So the economic event contracts. So most of you probably have seen them on the platforms. Right now we have 4 of them. So what really are the economic event contracts? They are going to be contracts based off of numbers released. All of ours are released by the United States government. They're going to be economic related numbers. So they are a little bit different from the rest of the contracts that you might see in Nadex. And so I'll kind of go over those differences here right now. First, you can see on the screen, it settles on a single release. So unlike many of the other contracts where, let's say you're trading, I don't know, euro dollar or the US 500, and you're constantly going to see, if you're on the platform, you'll see a chart and you'll see those numbers moving up and down as the market moves up and down. As the market moves up and down, you'll see those moving up and down on the actual platform. With the economic events, there is an underlying market, right? Because the underlying release is that actual release, but there's no ongoing movement in the events throughout the duration of the contract, right? Because it is just a single release this settles on. So, while the euro dollar might be a certain price today and it's going to move by expiration, the economic events, there's no real price for it right now. It's just going to come out on that release date. And so generally how that release works is the release will come out on, I think all of these contracts, they come out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, the morning of the release. So we actually close our contracts at 8:25 a.m. So right before the release. So about 5 minutes before we shut them off, the release happens, we settle the contracts, and if you get your payout or lack of payout, depending on if you were correct or not in your trade. So that is why, especially, you won't be able to open up charts or anything like that on these event contracts. Or if you do open up a chart, there's not going to be any data there, any information there. The other thing to note about these contracts is you can see this greater than or equal to sign. That is a little bit different from the rest of our contracts. So economic events are always greater than or equal to. So when this comes into play is if the release number is exactly on line with the strike, right? So let's say, for example, I'll use a really wild made up number here, that GDP has grown by 100%, right? And there's a strike that says 100%, and you bought that, you bought that strike, so it's right on the line, on the strike line with the economic event contracts. It will settle on the buy side, right? So because it's greater than or equal to with the economic event contracts, that means if you buy it, you mean that, if it's equal to, you will also receive a payout. That does differ from all the rest of our contracts on the exchange that are simply greater than. So every other contract, if it settles right on that line, right on that strike price, that's a payout for the sell side and not for the buy side. With the economic event contracts, it is a payout for the buy side and not for the sell side. So it doesn't happen that often, but it is something to definitely note, just so you know how exactly these contracts work. Another interesting or a little bit different way these contracts work is these are only open on certain days. So what do I mean by that? Because obviously, all of our contracts are open on certain days, right? They're not open on the weekends. The economic event contracts, though, many of them are monthly, and one of them is even quarterly, the actual releases of the numbers. So we generally only do about a week before the release comes out, simply because there's not enough information for us to go ahead and set those strike prices very far in advance of that week. So if you go on the platform at any given time, there may be no event contracts open. Generally, the jobless claims will be open because that is a weekly contract, but those are only open Monday through Thursday. And so right now, for example, I'll show you when I actually go onto the platform in a little bit. There are only the jobless claims available right now. GDP, since that's quarterly, isn't available to trade right now. Neither is non-farm payrolls or the unemployment rate, since non-farm payrolls and unemployment are monthly contracts. So if you do go on there, you don't see them, just know that just means they're not live, and you can go ahead and look up when those contracts will go back live, and I will show you that page as well in a little bit. So just jumping in real quick. Actually, let's show that page right now, just while we're on that subject here. So actually, I already have it up here. So if you ever are wondering, well, when are these going to list? When can I go ahead and trade these? You can go to this page. It's our economic events page, and you can see up here at the top, nadex.com/market/events. You can go down, and so it will show you, it'll give you a little blurb about what the events are. It'll give you the last previous release for them, and then it will tell you when the next release will be. So for example, the next release for non-farm is June 5th. So the contract would actually open the Monday before that. So you can go down, you can see all the contracts that we offer, the last settlement, and the next date that they are going to be live. So let's actually go back to our presentation here quickly. Okay, so those are the main points that kind of set the economic event contracts apart, but generally they are fairly similar. They are all binary contracts as well, so generally they are very similar to the rest of our binary option contracts, except for these certain differences. So going on, so we do offer four different event contracts on the exchange, and two of them are fairly new. So GDP is one of them. So the four, I think I've mentioned them before, just to go over again: GDP, unemployment rate, non-farm payrolls, jobless claims. So those four are the four releases that we currently offer on the exchange, or offer contracts on. Gross domestic product, it is one of our newer ones. We've had this in development for quite a while now, and luckily we were able to get it out before the last quarterly report. So the last time this was released, which was a couple of Wednesdays ago, was the first time we actually had this product. Obviously, also these economic event contracts, I will say, are a little bit more interesting now, considering the kind of strange economic times we are in, with obviously COVID-19 being out there, the economy slowing down a little bit with all the stay-at-home orders. So it is a little bit more, you are seeing a little bit more variability, and maybe not so much linear growth in a lot of these contracts that you would normally see, or that you've probably seen for the last 10 years, as the US economy has been steadily growing in an upward direction. So getting into GDP, it does stand for gross domestic product. This is a quarterly release. So now if you actually go look it up, they do release versions of these numbers about once a month, but the one that we use is the advanced estimate of real GDP. And I'll go into what that means. So the advanced estimate is the first estimate that's going to come out for gross domestic product. Gross domestic product really is a measure of all the goods and services that a country provides on an annualized basis. So our contract is obviously based off the United States gross domestic product and is based off of the change in GDP from the last release on an annualized basis. Real GDP just means that it takes inflation into account and that sort of thing, rather than nominal GDP, which is reported a little bit differently. So that advanced estimate does come out once every quarter, and it is the first estimate of really what's going to happen with these numbers. The GDP did come out a couple Wednesdays ago. April 29th was the last release, and it did come out at negative 4.8%, which is fairly interesting just because for the last 10 years since the 08-09 financial crisis and the fallout after that, we have been on about a 10-year increase, a 10-year uptick in GDP numbers and GDP growth. And then we obviously, this has been the first release that number actually came out negative, that we actually saw a shrinkage in the US GDP number. You can see here, so this number is released by the Bureau of Economic Analysis, and that is the part of the Department of Commerce. A lot of these other ones are released by Department of Labor. GDP is the only contract we're going to talk about here today that does come from the Department of Commerce. If you do want to see where you can actually find these numbers and where we actually get these numbers, where the official release comes from, it is at this link right here, and I will go to it right now. It is right here. So that's where this link is going to take you, the current releases. And if you look down, you can see this is the one that would have come out. Very quickly though, I'm just going to show you, if you want to see upcoming releases, you can go to release schedule. So this is going to show you every release that the Bureau of Economic Activity actually puts out. And if you go down, I believe this is going, where is, I think I'm missing it here. There we go. So this is going to be the second contract, or the next contract that comes out. You're always going to want to look for the advanced estimate. So this is second quarter, and if we want to go back and see the news releases, this was the one that settled for the first quarter. This is the gross domestic product of the first quarter, the 2020 advanced estimate, as you can see right here in the first line here, decreased at an annual rate of 4.8% in the first quarter of 2020. You can also see, just like I was talking about earlier, it is embargoed until release until 8:30, so it comes out right at 8:30 Eastern time. And so we do cut our contracts off at 8:25, about 5 minutes before, so we can actually go ahead and settle those before the number comes out. Or sorry, not settle, expire them and then settle after the number comes out. You'll also notice something about GDP that's a little bit different than the other contracts is that there's not a set day of the week that these come out. So GDP can come out, this time it came out on a Wednesday. I believe next time it comes out for the second quarter, if that July 30th date, I believe is a Thursday off the top of my head. But I'm pretty sure that's a Thursday. So what we do with the GDP, because it does come out on these different days of the week, is instead of going Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday like we do with the jobless, the unemployment, the non-farms, we actually just go 5 business days prior to the release date is when we open them up. So for example, this one came out on Wednesday, April the 29th. The product would have opened up on Wednesday, April the 22nd, about 5 business days. Day before the actual release of the product. So here, and you can see in the slides or up here, you can see exactly where you would go to actually find these. These are, the official releases. So these are what we look at as well when these actually come in, and then we go ahead and settle the contracts. So let me go back to the slideshow here. We'll go on to the next product here. The next one is going to be unemployment rate. So unemployment rate is another fairly new contract that we have released. The first unemployment rate contract, it's actually the newest economic event contract that we've put out there. And it is a monthly contract. So it comes out once every month. It generally comes out the first week or the first Friday of that month. You're going to see these numbers come out. So the first Friday of the month, the number is going to come out for the month prior, right? So we just had a release last Friday. So that was May 8th. Was last Friday? I believe it was May 8th. So that would have been the numbers for what happened in April. So it would have been the April unemployment rate. So going back a little bit, what is unemployment rate? What do these numbers mean? Unemployment rate, some people do think it's just the number of people that aren't working in the economy, and that's close, but it's not exactly correct. The unemployment rate is the number of people, it's not just the entire number of people, right? So it doesn't include babies or, children. It doesn't include very, very old people that are past, the general working age. So it includes basically working age citizens that could be working, that are actively looking for employment, that are actively trying to get a job. So if you are not trying to get a job, or someone is, basically if someone's not trying to get a job, they are not included in this unemployment rate calculation. It is just the number of people of working age people that are actively looking for work that cannot get work. And so this, again, like most of these numbers we're going to be talking about here today, we did see or have seen in the last few months quite a different result than we have seen in the last 10 years or so. Again, because of a little bit of the economic downturn, we are seeing a much higher unemployment rate. We are seeing that spike up. We actually did see the unemployment rate come in at 14.7% last Friday. So a fairly high unemployment rate there. Which is it's a little bit of scary, a little bit of frustrating, a little bit of sad number, because it does mean that people are unemployed because of these harsh economic times and these times we're going through. So we are seeing these very strange, very high numbers coming in for this. This number is released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and that is from the Department of Labor. And we will go and just look at where we get this this release here. It is released in the same exact release, or the number is contained in the same exact release that the non-farm payrolls number is in as well. So we're going to go look where you would find that, but it's going to be the same place as those non-farm numbers. It is kind of colloquially, or actually maybe it is officially called the Employment Situation Report. So let's see here. I have it up here. So if you go to this is the link I had, this bls.gov, basically news release, latest releases. This is going to show you all the latest releases from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And if you go down here to the employment situation, that's where you want to go to find this. So you can click right there. And then this top one right here, you can see it's purple because I've clicked it before. The employment situation summary. You click on that, you'll see right here in the top line the total non-farm payrolls employment, which fell by 20.5 million, which is the contract we're going to talk about next. And then you can see the unemployment rate, and it rose to 14.7%. So that is where you would find that unemployment rate number released again straight by the United States government, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and that does come out at 8:30 every Friday. Sorry, not every Friday, 8:30, and it's generally the first Friday of the month. Almost always something, unless I think for July, for example, there's not, because the first Friday is July 3rd or 4th, so they don't release it that date. But usually it's going to be that first Friday, and you can always look up when those releases are going to be coming out. And it's a simple Google, and I believe actually they have schedules for news releases as well, so you can see basically the schedules for these the employment situation report. So getting back over to our handy dandy trusty slideshow here. So that was unemployment rate. Now we're going to go on to the non-farm payrolls number. Sorry about this. Sorry, my dog was just down there below me, chewing on the chair. Don't want to be doing that. So now onto the non-farm payrolls number. Like we just said, these are, they're monthly. It's in the same report as the unemployment. So I'm not going to go too much into where you actually find these and what report it's in because, hey, we just looked at it. I will explain a little bit what the non-farm payrolls are and what they mean. So non-farm payrolls are, it is a little bit, it is a tied to employment. It is an employment number, just like the unemployment rate, obviously, and jobless claims are also a different measure, similar but different measure of employment as well. So the non-farm payrolls, excuse me, the non-farm payrolls, basically what it means is the number of payroll employees in the United States of America that are not contained in the farm payrolls, basically classification. So it's a classification that the United States has that's non-farm workers. So basically, it includes most of the working population outside of farmers or a lot of agricultural type jobs, I believe, as well. There are certain jobs that aren't contained in it just outside non-farm, but basically, or just outside farmers, but basically it is just the number of payrolls, the number of people that are working that aren't farmers in the United States. And so that again came out last Friday. That release, I believe, was around negative 20 million. For that non-farm release. So, and again, a very high release there, as will be a theme with all of these numbers. And then finally, the fourth contract we have here that we're going to talk about today are the jobless claims numbers. So these are weekly contracts. So most of the time, if you're going into the platforms, you will see the jobless claims contracts out there. The only time you really wouldn't see them is going to be Thursday after they expire, or Friday, right? Because they do expire on Thursday at 8:30, or sorry, they expire at 8:25. Report comes out at 8:30. Keep talking myself, mixing that one up. So they are weekly reports, so you can trade on these every week. It is the initial claim. So there's a couple different releases. There's the initial claims, or there's a couple different numbers in the release. The initial claims and the continuing claims. At Nadex, this is settled on the initial claims. So basically what this means is, because some of you may be saying, okay, well, hey, this is another employment number, and how is this really different than unemployment? How is it really different than non-farm? Which, would be a valid question if you were to ask it. The initial claims, though, it is just the people that in the last week have filed at the state level for unemployment benefits. So it is basically people that were generally viewed as a leading indicator of the number of people that will, be in that unemployment rate number. It is every week how many new people are coming in and applying for these unemployment benefits, how many new people are recently no longer employed. So as the rest of these numbers keep going with the theme, these have been very high recently. I think the top that we saw, that they, obviously spiked up very, very high. Back before we got into this period of a little bit of economic turmoil, these numbers were in the hundreds of thousands. Now we are solidly, for the last couple of months, have been seeing these numbers come in the millions, which again is quite sad to hear, because it means that people are losing their jobs on to be included in this. The last report, so I believe, again, the highest it got up to was in the 6.5 million range. I believe it was 6.48, possibly. Don't 100% quote me on that, but I think that is the highest we've seen so far. It has come down a little bit from that, from the initial kind of boom of that number. In the last week, we had 3.1 million new people apply at the state level for this unemployment benefit. So 3.1 initial jobless claims numbers. This one, again, is released by Department of Labor, but a little bit of a different section of the Department of Labor. It is the Employment and Training Administration. And so if you want to go see this number, you can go to this link right here, this departmentoflabor.gov link. And it's actually kind of nice. So this link, they update it every single week. They update the PDF. So this will always have actually the latest release when you go to this link. And let's go over and just take a look here. So we have the news release here. Again, it does come out every Thursday. So every Thursday morning at 8:25 a.m. these are going to expire. The number will come out at 8:30 a.m. and they will be settled shortly thereafter. Now, that 8:30, and it's something important to note about all of these contracts. You won't with most contracts on the exchange, right when the settlement occurs, or very, very soon after, within a few seconds, you will see that settlement come through and you'll see your payout. With the economic release, because we do have to wait for the release, we have to, you know, double check, make sure we're putting the right numbers in, make sure everything is good to go before we actually release these. It might take a little bit more time to see your payouts come through after this is released, just because we do want to make sure that everything is getting out there in a correct manner. So if you look at this release, we see last Thursday, May 7th, it actually does have a little blurb about COVID-19 and how it is impacting these numbers with the economic downturn here. And we see in the week ending May 2nd. So again, it is the week prior that you're measuring. So all these releases measure, either measure the week prior, the month prior, the quarter prior. These are, you see 3.169 million people, excuse me, seasonally adjusted for this number. The seasonal adjustment as well just kind of takes out or doesn't take into account the natural seasonal upswings and downswings that you'll see in the economy. You know, as for example, there's higher jobs in retail around the holiday season. So it adjusts them based on the season there. So you have seen that a little bit higher. Just to give you a little bit more insight about exactly how those numbers work. So we are going to go back to the here. Jobless claims. So this last one, this is how you can stay up to date, how you can see where they all are. And actually so this is the page I showed you earlier. I'll go back to it in a second. And this is the contract specifications page. So on here, you can see the listing for how the contracts actually work, how we basically set the strikes, and how when the actual release time is, etc. So I will go over, let's click on this because I don't believe I've showed you this page yet. And so if you want to find this, so if you can go to nadex.com/market/events, next page we already saw. And if you do want a little bit of an overview, you can watch this video that has been made starring my wonderful coworker Allie. She goes over the non-farm payroll contracts in just a quick video to tell you what they are. And then you can again read down here. You've got everything. If you click on any of these will take you to the contract specifications page. So it's this one here that I clicked on earlier. And you can see, first of all, up here you have, where they're released from, the source agency, the settlement date, which just basically says day of release, and when they should be trading. And you can also see basically the ranges of strike weights we can set for these. Now the strike weights will change obviously because the analysts will predict higher, lower, more volatility in the market basically. And so that's how we kind of set the strike weights and how we actually set the strikes. We do set the strikes based on a overview of, I guess not an overview, but a large pool of analyst estimates. We take them all into consideration and basically take a part of that and use those many analyst estimates to go ahead and set the strikes for this. So we basically take a very large section of what analysts think are going to come out with this. So you can sort of think of these contracts as trying to, beat the analysts. If you think you know better than what these analysts are thinking for these economic releases, you can go in here and trade these. And so again, you can see these will expire at 8:25 a.m. They come out at 8:30, and I have told you a little bit today about when those releases actually happen. So that we are getting close to the end here. I did just want to show you here. So I've pulled up the new platform, and you can see here the events. So when you first pull it up, you will see binary options, and if you go down to events, you can see them here. And right now, like I said, we only have the jobless claims out because the non-farm payrolls, the unemployment rate, the GDP contracts, they are not going to be released for quite a while. So NFP and unemployment, again, end of month, quarterly, GDP is quarterly. So if you look in here, now you may notice here that these markets are a little bit wide. There's a little bit of, and by a little bit, I'm probably putting that nicely, with how, how you're seeing these, excuse me, with how wide you're seeing these markets now. But if I thought it could finish higher than or equal to 2.4 million, then I could buy this. If I think it's going to be on that number, I could sell this, and these are the prices that are currently offered in the market. Now, if you don't like these prices, just like with every other contract on the exchange, you can always place a limit order. So let's say that I don't think this should be priced at 60. Let's say I am willing to give 70 for this contract, so I can always put that in. And there you go. You can see now I'm at the top of the market. That's me right there, and I have my order out there. So someone else could come and take that off my hands and buy that from me. So it is always just a good thing to remember that if you think these markets are too wide, or if you think that maybe you can put in a better price than what you currently see out there, you can always do that. You can offer up a better price than what you see for these contracts. Again, like I was saying, you'll see that there's no real place here to actually, see a chart or anything. You just see a little loading screen. And actually, let me go. I'll show you guys one more thing today, because we do actually did release a new feature today. So I'll show you here. I think it wasn't showing up on my other one just because I have that downloaded and haven't kind of refreshed. So you actually so tear off chart won't work here, but you have tear off tickets here. So now you can tear a ticket off, and looks like it's kind of stuck up there. There we go. So you can tear off a ticket, and you can do this with all markets, not just the jobless claims. You can do this with every market now. So you can actually tear off your tickets. So if you are one of those people that likes to have a lot of tickets up, if you like to have a lot of charts up, and I'll just show you on another market right now. I don't know, just again, none of these recommendations, just going in and showing these here. So let's say, I forgot I had changed my candlesticks here. Do a lot of webinars on this account. So I could tear off this chart. I do not know why it's opening all the way up here. I think that's just how my computer is set up right now for the webinar. So I can tear off this chart, and I can tear it off again. I can have another one on here. So if I have, let's say, another screen, which I actually do, but you guys can't see that screen right now, I can put up all these different charts, and I can look at a 4-hour here, and I can look at a 5-minute here. I can trade on both of these as well. I can bring up the charts. So you can now, let's say I just wanted to have up 5 charts on my second screen. You can have all the charts, all the tickets up, and get ready to trade on whatever market you like. So I know that was a feature that was heavily requested. So now you can get in there and use that feature. It's a little bit extra today because this is supposed to be on unemployment, but I am just as someone that has worked on this platform very heavily with a lot of our developers, I'm very, very excited about this feature. So that is something new and exciting for me. Let's see, so just going back here, really that should be it. If you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and ask them now. And while you guys are asking any questions, I'll wait a couple minutes. But I do just want to show you, we've talked about how some of these are new. The GDP and the unemployment rate have been released in the last few weeks. There is a new contract on the exchange as well as of this last Monday. We've been very, very busy over in product development here and getting some new contracts out for all of you to trade. And one of those new contracts that I'm personally quite excited about, because I personally am a fan of this pair, is the dollar peso. So the USD MXN contract. So that is the United States dollar against the Mexican peso. And so you can go down here, and it looks like we're coming into the end of the day right now. So something to note, we don't have 5 minutes, and we don't have as many dailies as we generally do, or 2-hour contracts as we generally do with some of our other pairs. That's because these are fairly new, but hopefully we will be adding more. But you can see in these daily and weekly contracts here that you can actually trade now on the dollar versus the Mexican peso. So I think it's quite a cool, new, interesting contract. It is an emerging market, Forex pair, which we haven't really had much before. And also just being someone that lives in the United States of America, it's nice to, we already had our dollar CAD contract for our Canadian neighbors up north. It's also nice to be able to, have an opinion about the performance of the currency for our neighbors to the south there, down in Mexico. So again, not really generally within the scope of this, but just wanted to show you because I am quite excited about all of these new contracts that we do have on the exchange. Doesn't look like we're really getting any questions in here, so I will go ahead and end this in a second. I'll give one more second for any questions to come in, but doesn't look like we are seeing any more. So definitely get out there. If you have an opinion on the economic contracts, definitely you can go ahead and trade those contracts. If you have any questions that I didn't answer in this webinar, you can always send us, give us a call or shoot us an email over to customerservice@nadex.com, and they're a great team over there, so more than happy to help you with that. We will be putting this on YouTube, so if you are watching this in the future on YouTube, I will try to make sure that all of the links that you saw in this webinar, they'll be down in the description below, so that you will be able to easily click and get to where some of these news releases are, get to where we actually show, the events on our own page as well there. I believe that's everything. I do have one more thing if you guys want to see. I just got a new puppy and I can't stop showing him off. Hey, buddy. Here we go. Here's my dog. His name's Gus. He's a very good boy. And he loves the economic event contracts as well, don't you? And the dollar peso. Yeah, he does. All right, so that's gonna end it for us here. Thank you all for coming and attending this webinar. Just like I said, if you have any questions, reach out to us. Always more than happy to help you out with anything that you need. Other than that, have a great rest of your day and make sure you stay safe in these very, very strange times we're living in right now. Thank you.